If you've got little bitty grandbabies and you want to turn them into millionaires, watch this video. How's that for an intro? Seriously though, I'm not kidding. Watch the video, see what happens. So Secure 2.0 was passed at the end of last year, at the end of 2022. Did a lot of things to change retirement planning. One of the smaller ones, and it's still not actually live as I record this video here in 2023. This doesn't exist until 2024, but it's passed and we know it's going to happen, is the ability to convert 529 money. Now that's college savings account money into a Roth IRA. I'm going to explain to you what I think they thought they were doing when they put this one in, and a way that you can change it and use the provision to make millionaires out of your little grandbabies. So here we go. The way the provision works, the way it was set up, was if you had some 529 money and it was living in a 529 account, it was going to be used for higher education, and it just didn't. Like, you use some of it, there's a little bit of money left over, whatever the case may be. You can now use that money, provided it hits certain criteria, which I'll give you in a few minutes, to fund a Roth IRA for the beneficiary of the 529, the child, the grandchild, whoever it was. Now, what I'm going to show you today is, what if it wasn't leftover money? What if you put money into a 529 up front with the understanding that someday we're going to convert this into a Roth IRA? What does it actually mean by the time you get to retirement, or by the time those grandbabies or children? If you're watching the video and we're talking about young kids, substitute young kids when I say grandchildren. What happens if you start with the 529 with them when they're tiny? What does it mean when they get to retirement? And so I'll show you. So why am I so excited about it? I'm so excited about it because even though there's a lot of these provisions about how the money has to work, if you do it right, you can start with one contribution at the time the child or the grandchild is born into the 529. Now, they can't make a Roth IRA contribution because you have to have earned income to do that. So you can't just say, well, I'll just start a Roth IRA for them when they're born. It doesn't work that way. But you could start a 529 account for them when they're born. There's no rules against that. And so you do that and you put a chunk of money in there. And you do it not to pay for education. You do it to pre-fund their Roth IRA, if you will. You say, I'm going to put this money in here now with the expectation that we're going to convert it once Junior gets a summer job and starts making a couple of dollars. We're going to piece this thing over until we get a full $35,000 converted to kickstart the money that he's going to have for retirement. So you're essentially starting a retirement account at birth if you want to. Now, it's still a good strategy even if they're 2 or 3 or 5 years old, because hey, they still probably don't have earned income, so they can't make Roth contributions. And while this isn't a Roth contribution, it's a 529 contribution. Because of this new rule, you can get it into a Roth IRA down the road, but you can start the deferral process. You can start the growth on that money now, which is really what makes a difference. We talk all the time in investing about there's no substitute for time. I'm going to pop something up on the screen here in a second. I'm going to show you there is quite literally no substitute for time in this strategy. You just can't make up for the fact that we're talking about such a long investment horizon. So here we go. What you're looking at is if you funded $10,000 into a 529 when they were born, and it just grew at an 8% annual return. Now, this is going to show straight line returns, 8% every year. It doesn't work that way, but the math is still, if you averaged an 8% return from starting point to ending point, this is where you're going to be. So this is money goes into the 529 account at birth. Once they start working, and it's more than 15 years has passed, you start chunking that money over into a Roth IRA. So you're going to see that the 529 account balance goes down, the Roth balance is growing. Now, this is not showing adding any additional money to the Roth. This is not, oh, they're 40, 41, 42 years old and they're making Roth contributions. They should do that. But this is just showing what happens to that money over the long run. $10,000 started in a 529 that gets to grow tax deferred until they're 16, 17, 18 years old. And then you start moving over until you cap out at that $35,000, the money into the Roth. What does it grow to by the time they're 65? It grows into $1 million. They're millionaires. And I know 65 years from now, $1 million is not going to be worth what $1 million is now. But $10,000 turns into $1 million of tax-free retirement income if you follow the rules of the strategy and you averaged an 8% annual return. No guarantee that you'll average that return, but historically, that's reasonable on a stock-based portfolio. And so I use that as a number, and lo and behold, look where it took us. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, click the button, subscribe to the channel, come on back, because if you do, you'll get notified every time that we post new content. I get something up once or twice a week. It's stuff like this. It's about retirement planning, investments, the financial world. So if you enjoy that, I hope to see you again. if you started the 529 at birth and you had that 8% annual return, you're actually going to have more money in the 529 than you're able to convert into the Roth. So you can see the 529 line kind of went down, and then it recovers pretty nicely and ends up looking pretty good itself. Nothing wrong with that at all. But $1 million in a retirement account, starting from $10,000, because essentially, now you haven't literally started a retirement account at birth, but essentially through this sort of backdoor into a Roth, you've started a retirement account at birth for a child or a grandchild. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm not going to keep you here all day, but how cool is that? Right? Isn't that a really awesome thing? If you've got young kids, if you've got young grandkids, this is a great way to get the ball rolling. And then down the road, you do a little bit of planning with it. Once they start working, you start looking to move some of that money over. If you can do $10,000 all in one shot, we show, look, it's probably going to turn out pretty well for you. But even if you can't, just chunk some money over into the 529 and let that thing live and let it roll, maybe beyond what you would just anticipate using for education, because now there's another use for it. I can't tell you how many times over the years I've talked with clients who go like, we got this leftover 529 money. Oh, we didn't end up using it. Well, now there's a use for it, but more importantly, if you want to start at the beginning, you can set out with the end in mind of, we're going to pre-fund this Roth IRA for Junior and get him started off in a really good path towards his own retirement. Little bit of a niche-y video today, probably doesn't apply to everybody, but man, it shows the power of financial planning and knowing the laws and the rules and when things change, and then being able to look at that and say, hey, here's an opportunity, here's something that I can do to better my family. I mean, you want to talk about intergenerational wealth and leaving a financial legacy. This is a heck of a way to do it. So if you have questions about this, by all means, reach out. Like I said, it's a little bit sticky. There's some tricky parts to it that you got to make sure you're following along. And it's not live yet, depending on when you actually watch this video. It's not live in 2023. It will go live in 2024. I thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I'll see you soon.